Okay, so the last video I did a bee stained glass effect in resin, and it was pretty much a fail. It wasn't a complete fail, but I think I learned a couple of things from it though. Firstly, I think I should have only done one layer of liner, and I should have used UV resin to be my colorant, so it wouldn't have like run everywhere with less liner. And secondly, I should have simplified my design. I think there was too much black in it, and that's what made it a bit too undefined. So this time I'm going to freehand the design. I'm going to do it again, and this time I'm going to do a clear back and front if it works. Fingers crossed it works. So I'm going to simplify my design, but like before, I'm going to start on the back of a mold. But I also learned something about using the liner pen, making it way thinner. I have way more high hopes for this one. It's going to be much cuter. Much cuter. Sometimes you just have to try things more than once to master something. The edge is the hardest part. Okay, I think that's simple enough. There's not too much black going on. Okay, I think this is dry now. It's not the neatest because I accidentally stuck my hand in it after I did it, and I had to redo it, so I'm kind of annoyed about that. I'm going to take a little bit UV resin at a time, colour by colour, and mix up and cure a little bit at a time. So what am I going to start with? The sky. That should be more than enough for the sky. I'm going to do this really, really thin, and I want to try and make it quite light and transparent, so I'm just going to be very careful with how much ink I put in these, because alcohol inks can be really strong. I think that's just a wee tiny bit too light. I'm not going to make the same mistake as what I did with the bee and making it too dark. Okay. And we're going to keep this thin. This is maybe still a bit too light actually. We'll just make the rainbow really bright. Now, a good thing about UV resin is I can cure this as I go, so I don't have to worry about it leaking into each other. I think this one's going to work a lot better than the bee. I think I overcomplicated the bee. Right, I'm going to cure that. Right, it's because I've already got this in here, I'm actually going to start with the green. So it's purple, red, orange, yellow, green. I do want these a bit stronger. I think because the sky is quite pale, I can go stronger on the actual rainbow colours. I think I'm being too cautious after the bee mishap. Yeah, that's a bit of a stronger green. Okay, so green is the last one. These are still quite pale. Okay, so that's the green. I'm gonna cure this. I'm going to start with the yellow because it's the lightest, and then I can work up the colours without wasting resin. I think the yellow is one of the stronger of these pigments. They're not pigments, inks even. It takes very little to make a bright yellow. UV resin is so much easier to control, and because you can cure it straight away, it means it's not going to like ruin anything by running into each other. I should have done it with UV resin in the first place. And cure. Maybe just do a thin layer of this. And then we cure that. I love UV resin for its quickness. but so far I've not actually found a UV resin that I like for its finish. So if you've got a UV resin that you use that you really love its finish, like it's as close to epoxy resin as possible, let me know below, because I've still not found a resin that I really like. Let us cure this for 2 minutes and then we will attach what's going to be our bale before we add our epoxy resin. Okay, this has had a 2-minute cure. Now I'm actually going to be using see-through beading wire because I do not want any bales showing. So first I'm going to tack it in place with super glue, then I'm going to secure it with UV resin. So I just want a tiny little dot of super glue where the first end is going to go. So you want to cure that. Then once that's cured, you want to measure how much you want for your necklace to hang on, and then trim it down to size. This is so it just doesn't show through once you have your like resin in place. So I'm going to trim that. I'm going to put a little tiny dot of super glue over here. That was an ordeal. I secured it for a little bit more UV resin. So I've mixed up some epoxy resin, but if I'm putting it in this behind layer, you're only really going to see it very subtly. Plus, if you're not degassing your resin, it hides all the bubbles. I want my resin on the thicker side to do a doming, so I don't mind if there's bubbles, if there's glitter, because you don't really notice it. I'm hoping this is going to be so much prettier than the bee. I have high hopes for this. And I guess this could be double-sided. You could wear this glittery side as the front if it's not showing through on the other side. The way that I've put the invisible thread in means that either side could be the front. I think that is it until tomorrow. Then we will take it off, dome the other side, put it on a chain, see how it looks. Okay, so now we take it off the mold. Oh, that feels too bendy still. No, there we go. Now we're going to dome the front. Now it still feels quite thin, but when we put this one on, I'm going to try and do it like a thicker dome. And just to be sure, I'm actually going to stick this under the UV light to make sure the UV was cured properly on both sides. Now J Diction comes with these handy dandy nozzles, which I forgot they came with, and these are a complete game changer. So much cleaner. Okay, so it is morning and this looks actually really cute. I just have to sand it in a couple of little places. And it's not as thin as I thought it was going to be. The reason I've waited till now to sand it rather than before I domed is because the liner is really thin. Not thin. Like, yeah, it is really thin, but it's like jellyish. No, that's not the right word. Rubberish. And it doesn't sand well until you've got resin on the front and back of it. So I'm just giving it a little basic neaten up, getting fingerprints all over this already. Give it a clean. This looks so cute. I'm like so impressed with this version. I like that it's see-through. Right, so instead of making it into a necklace or anything, I decided I was just going to make a really simple sun catcher for my window. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to loop some of the same clear beading wire through, and then bringing both ends together, I'm going to just add my little crystal beads. And I think I'm going to start the green one, maybe. Let's see, put them in order so I can figure out which one I want to start with. Okay, we're starting with the blue one. And with your last bead, to stop it slipping back up the way, you take one piece of your thread and you bring it down and you put it through the bead from the underneath a second time. And this will stop them sliding up the way. This is really bendy wire. So you push them all back together. So as you can see, stops them coming up the way. Then you tie a knot. This wire is fighting me all the way because it's quite stiff. Tie a knot. And to get the knot right against it, use a cocktail stick. And then just tie a knot at the top. And you have your sun catcher ready to hang up. And I really like how it turned out. It's very pretty. So I'm going to hang it up.